to see them achieve a medal, whether it's gold, silver, or bronze, or even make a final, it puts them in good stead for life. With a group of athletes, it's a bit of an ebb and a flow. This year I had 3 throwers competing at English schools. 2 of them made the final in the javelin and the intergirls. I was really pleased about that. Yeah, it's been a 7, 8 out of 10 year rather than a 10 out of 10 year. I think there's a funding issue. I know many coaches that it costs, and they do say it costs them thousands of pounds. Without the officials at all of these events, there wouldn't be the events. I don't think there are many coaches who I know, and I know a lot of the national coaches, they don't seek the recognition for themselves. It's for the athletes. It's for the athletes.
Alex, you are probably known by most nowadays for your coaching, but I'm curious as to how you actually got started in athletics. So what are your beginnings in athletics, and how did you then transition into coaching?
Okay, so my initial interest in athletics was I actually competed at national prep school level in javelin and long jump. I then swayed away from athletics to play a lot of rugby, and then came back when my daughter started athletics at the age of about 9 years old. She did well. I joined the club, but instead of sitting there like most parents do, I actually joined in and started to help with officiating, and started to gain an interest in actually coaching the younger kids in throws, which was my initial interest from when I was a youth, throwing the javelin. So that sort of progressed. I got a couple of 3 kids came and asked me, first of all, to join, or would I coach them, Jack, Michael, and Lucy. And I then started, while I was coaching these younger children, to go through my coaching qualifications. So I've got up to group throws national level with my coaching. I'm also a level 2 official at the same time. And it just progressed from there, where there had been only one other coach at Gateshead Harriers at the time doing throws. So I then sort of proceeded to sort of have my own group of athletes, which has grown and grown and grown over the last 10 years now. I've been doing coaching. So
could you, for those who might be watching or listening and who might not fully understand how the qualifications work for coaching, how could you just explain a little bit more as to how you've progressed in that sense? Because I know there's different qualifications for different levels, isn't there? So how
there is,
did
yes.
that panned out for you?
So first of all, level 1 is an assistant coach, and that's you do a basic grounding in all disciplines for your coaching qualification for that. So a bit of long jump, bit of high jump, and also obviously I knew I wanted to specialize in the throws, but you're not allowed to specialize yet in the throws. You have to sort of get a good grounding on safeguarding, how to control an athlete, how to interpret an athlete's moods, etc. And then you then progress to level 2, which is an athletics coach, which entitles you then to coach within a certain area or clubhouse or on a track or whatever, without another coach who's a qualified level 2 supervising you. And that's then your sort of start, where while you're doing that 2-day athletics coaching course, you then can start to progress any particular specialisms that you wanted to do. So I qualified in that. And then my next level was level 3, which is national group coach, which means you can then coach a large group of athletes. there are still reminders on safeguarding and sort of just the basic health and safety issues that you could incur while you're taking a large group. As you said, I've got quite a lot of athletes on the power of 10, so not all of them turn up at the same time. So due to work and college, etc. But you have to be aware of at Gateshead, we have a javelin area, shot put areas, discus area, and hammer area, all in one giant field. So you have to be aware of what's happening on all of them at the same time. And then the level 4, which is my next and final goal, would be a national throws group where I could then go and assist with, if selected, with England athletics, etc.
So as you said just a second ago, obviously all of the athletes you coach, they might be doing uni, they might be doing part-time jobs on the side in amongst training with you. So how do you go about helping all of these different athletes? Because I know there's a lot that you coach. So how do you manage to keep on top of everyone when everyone's got all these different commitments and when they're all training in these different events as well? How do you keep on top of everything?
So depending on which discipline they are, so for the shot putters, we have to look at a double periodization with them where we get them to their peak within the indoor season, and then we have to then bring them down slightly, then bring them back up again to peak again for the summer season, for the later on in the summer season. So shot putters are a lot more difficult because obviously javelin, hammer and discus, they don't compete as much during the winter months. So with the other 3 disciplines, they're on a single periodization. Shot putters are on a double. So if they can't make it, I think actually all of the athletes now have med balls, and they are given a training program anyway. And if they can't attend the actual training session, then they must do either a med ball session, or strength and conditioning session, or they must do some technical sort of drills within their kitchen. So there was one girl last night we were discussing, she said, I can't make training. So I said, next week. So I said, okay, but I expect you to be doing 3 hammer rotations in the kitchen. And she laughed and she said, well, I'll only do it when my mum and dad are not there because, you know, it's embarrassing. But she will in the kitchen. And one of my former athletes, Jack, he used to do his rotational shot puts in the kitchen. Good lino it was apparently, so he could spin. So if they can't make it because of college, school, part-time jobs, then they are expected and they know that they must do some sort of exercise. There is, and I am a firm believer also, though, that if one of them says I can't attend because I've got a netball match or I've got a football match or a rugby match, I'm fine with that. They're exercising, they're out there running, that they're doing their cardio as well. That's great. That's great. So it doesn't matter if they're not with me 100% of the time. It would help sometimes for the ones who are competing at the elite level, the English championships, English schools. But if they're not and they are doing other exercises, that's fine by me.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it, for a lot of these athletes? I think it's so easy for them when they've got all these other commitments. It can be really easy for them sometimes to just put things to one side, especially with exam season. Like if people are in their last year of A levels, and it can be hard to keep that motivation going for a lot of them. So
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I totally agree. However, I've had over the last few years 2 female javelin throwers where they were both studying for exams. One, because she didn't come training for literally 2 months, because and exams are important. And I always say to all the athletes, GCSEs and A levels are more important than training. You must do that first and must revise and do your exams. So one of them completely went to pieces because she hadn't trained for 6 to 8 weeks. So when she came back to competition, she had developed a couple of sort of different styles and within her technique, and it took us quite a few weeks to iron out those little technical flaws that she had sort of thought of while she wasn't training. However, another athlete who then went on to compete at England level and England Athletics Championships, she also didn't train for 8 weeks, came back to one competition and threw still a club record at Gateshead Harriers. It qualified her in top 5 in the UK. Just so it all depends on the athlete as well. Some can do with a rest and some can't do with the rest, you know. So you have to look at all of those athletes individually.
Yeah, 100%. But it is clear that you've got some really hard workers amongst all the people that you coach, because I know you've been posting about a lot of their achievements over this past year. So it's clear that, you know, they're putting the work in, essentially.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
and the ones that are succeeding at the moment are the ones who are continually training. So,
yeah.
and I do have to point that out, and that's a fair point. They're the ones who don't miss a training session and do all of their block training, etc. Yeah,
The ones that are putting the graft in, basically.
Mm.
It boils down
Yes,
to that.
yes.
So this past year, then, what would you say have been the standout moments for you from all the athletes you coached? Does anything stand out in particular, would you say?
With a group of athletes, it's a bit of an ebb and a flow with the amount of work they put in and the age group that they are, hence doing exams, etc. So, you know, for 1 year I had 7 throwers at English schools. This year I had 3 throwers competing at English schools. 2 of them made the final in the javelin and the intergirls. I was really pleased about that. Really pleased about that. And they've won all the Northeast Championships. So yeah, it's been a 7, 8 out of 10 year rather than a 10 out of 10 year.
Okay, but that's still on the upper end of the scale, so that's still something.
Yeah, it is, but the standard's getting better and better. The standard is getting better and better. It really is. I mean, everyone looks at the senior levels in the Olympics and Olympic records being broken and world records being broken. It is at junior level. The standard at the moment that is coming out of the UK is exceptional, exceptional.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, yeah, not even just the athletes you coach, but it is so clear that the talent is just getting better and better as the years progress. I mean, from what I've witnessed anyway. So yeah, obviously when you see your athletes doing so well, which they have been doing recently, what what makes you proud in a way? Like, what are the main benefits of being a coach when you see your athletes reaching?
Just seeing them smile, just seeing them achieve, just seeing them achieve. That's the total reward. You know, there's nothing else. Don't want anything else. It's when I think, especially in athletics, it's quite hard for an athlete because it's a one-on-one basis, and it's easier in a team event to hide if you're having an off day, and that could be because you're having an off day because you're tired or you haven't eaten the right food substances, etc. So it's easier to have an off day within a team. In athletics, there's no hiding place. You're competing against other individuals. So I think for me, to see them achieve a medal, whether it's gold, silver, or bronze, or even make a final, and see how proud they are of themselves, it puts them in good stead for life. It puts them in good stead for life, I think. You know, it makes them that little bit better than somebody else. So if they didn't do athletics in 10 years' time, but they went for a job interview, they can say that they competed at English schools or at an English championships. That's the little differences that I like to see them achieving. That's honestly, it's we don't seek. I don't think there are many coaches who I know, and I know a lot of the national coaches. They don't seek the recognition for themselves. It's for the athletes. It's for the athletes.
Yeah, 100%. And I do think that coaches well, they do. Coaches play a massive part in their journey because, you know, yourself and any of the other coaches that are helping their athletes, you know, that they are with them on that journey, like, you know, wherever it is they go with their competitions or even their training, like, you know,
Mm.
they do play a massive part. So, and it's difficult as well, isn't it, when coaches sometimes don't get the attention, or even if it's just things like funding or that sort of stuff. So, in your opinion, are there any challenges at the moment that the coaching community as a whole are really struggling with? And if there are, what do you think needs to be done to combat that?
I think there's a funding issue. I mean, you know, I know many coaches that it costs, and they do say it costs them thousands of pounds, and likewise with me, it cost me thousands of pounds to go and travel to watch the athletes and stay at hotels. Yeah, there is an issue with I think there's an issue with coaching and officiating that without the officials at all of these events, there wouldn't be the events. You know, you see on social media, especially in the early springtime, May, June, July, people desperate for officials because otherwise they can't hold events, or they have to then reduce the actual number of field events. Well, that's detrimental to our sport. If you're taking the hammer and the discus and the javelin out and just doing a shot put, well, you know, that's ostracizing three sets of throwers there from three different disciplines, you know. So yeah, it's a funding issue, I think. I can understand why there is a funding issue, but for me, for coaches and officials, you know, we have to do this for the love, because it's not for the money.
No, definitely not. And I remember speaking to Kate Rooney a few months ago, who is obviously at the top of her game in her pole vaulting coaching. And she basically has echoed what you said there, really. Like, you know, there is the funding issue, and a lot of coaches do it just because they love it. It's simple as that, which is obviously why you do it, and why, if we're being honest, why the majority of coaches get into it, because they love seeing these athletes flourish, and they love
Yeah,
knowing that they're basically helping this wave of talent, essentially, you know, like, get to where they need to be. So
absolutely,
if that
absolutely.
funding is in place, you know, and if there's more resources in place for coaches to excel in what it is they're doing, then ultimately, like, everyone involved, whether it's the coach or even the athlete, like, you know, they are going to improve. So,
Mm.
you know, with that in mind, that's why we like to speak to coaches like yourself as well, because we like to learn about what it is that coaches are struggling with, so that we can try and help spread the word, essentially, because
Yeah,
coaching
yeah. I
community
mean, I
is
saw
vital.
an advert today. I saw an advert today, advertising a famous Italian shot putter is doing a clinic down at Loughborough in November, and tickets will be on sale soon. And I just thought, tickets on sale. So there's the travel expenses down to Loughborough, then there's the ticket itself, there's the staying overnight, and who's going to pay for that? You know, I will have to. You know,
It all
you
adds
know.
up.
Yeah.
I know you've got certain things like the Lloyd Cowan bursary who fund coaches, so that there are a few things that are in place. But
Yes.
if we could see even more steps being taken to help the community, then it's just going to be beneficial for everyone involved. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'd like to think that it can only go up from here, basically, especially if we're
Yeah, I
able to
agree.
spread the word and we're able to raise awareness on it. So we can only hope,
Yeah.
basically, we can
Yeah,
only
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
so in these last few minutes then, Alex, I'm just curious to know, what do you hope that the future is going to hold for many of your athletes, or even if it's not your athletes, just for the younger generation in general with athletics? What are your hopes?
Um, we are losing badly at grassroots level. Athletics is losing badly at grassroots level. We are losing badly to rugby. We are losing badly to football, especially in the female entry levels. We normally get, new athletes coming into the club, the throwers, maybe 10 to 15 in a sort of September time. We're getting 1, 2, and that's purely because, especially the girls, they want to go and now play soccer. They want to go and play rugby, mainly soccer. We're losing badly, and that's because at grassroots level, there's no investment at that level. You either join a club, and then I think this reiterates going back to what I'm saying. It's a hard task being an athlete in athletics, because you're on your own. It's a one-on-one against the other sprinter, the other jumper, the other thrower. So if you don't succeed, then you lose interest. That's understandable for a 15, 16-year-old child, so we need more investment at grassroots level. The schools need to have more sort of curriculum-wise. They're not doing athletics anymore. Gone are the days of lots of kids throwing shot puts, javelins, jumping, high jumping, and without that initial interest that they do, then they're sort of thinking, well, what else can I do? So they're then going off to the things that are at the moment a sort of more popular image, and that's football in particular. We're losing badly, and we've got to go back to grassroots on it. We've got to encourage. It's a government thing rather than England athletics thing. It's a government that they've got to look at the curriculums, because if not, we won't win as many medals in a few years' time.
No, it is a shame, isn't it? And especially when you compare our situation to, say, I don't know, over in America,
Yeah, absolutely.
over there, it's a completely different ball game, especially when you've got like the NCAA, which a lot of people from here tend to move over to America for that reason alone. Because
absolutely,
as a student athlete, the scene is just, realistically, it's just so much more developed than what it is over here. So,
but that's because the Americans have enthusiasm for athletics, So the collegiate system is awesome, and I don't blame any of my athletes who have gone over there, and great on them, because it's their life that they've got to do this. It's just some of our universities aren't even doing sport. It's just, you just wonder about it. So the ones I've got at the moment, I've got now my third thrower going to Loughborough University, because luckily enough they'll get the grades to go to Loughborough, but they're also going to get the support there to throw the javelin.
Yeah, we can only hope it will get better. But again, by spreading the word and by, getting the word out there that things need to change, then fingers crossed something will improve. But again, like you said, it's a government thing. There's all kinds of factors that play into it at the end of the day. So we can only hope, and that's all we can do. But in the meantime, at least, Alex, I wish you well. I wish all of your athletes well with the competitions that are coming up. And Alex, thank you so much. Thank you for talking to me.
Thanks, Jack.